Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. I hope you all are well and doing great. Today I'm back with another video to continue our questions. We have completed our 3 sections in the last videos, and this one is a section 4 of verbal reasoning, and then we will move towards the decision making practice questions. So the question number 31 is, the town of Cardigan was wet in 1980. Option A, true. Option B, false. And option C, can't tell. There we have a passage, so you can take a look at this. And you can use your keywords like cardigan, wet, and 1980 to find out your answers. So option B is correct because cardigan is listed as one of the places that had voted to close the pubs in 1975 in paragraph 3. And paragraph 1 says that local councils had to hold a vote on the issue every 7 years. 1980 is only 5 years after Cardigan voted to go dry, so it must have remained dry until the earliest of 1982. So that's why we have option B as the correct option, which is false. Next question is question number 32, which says the pressure to open pubs on Sundays came solely from the breweries who wanted to sell more alcoholic drinks. Option A, true. Option B, false. And option C, can't tell. So option B is correct because breweries were not the only campaigners against the ban. Paragraph 2 says that tourism, hospitality, and entertainment organization often opposed the ban. So here we have option B, which is false, as the correct options. The next we have question number 33 that says that which of the following statements is supported by the passage. Option A, the center of Marburg is only 5 miles from the border with North Gateshire. Option B, Lord Edendale had been made a poor man by his father's death. Option C, the Gainsborough painting was a portrait of an earlier Duke of Edendale. Option D, many residents of Edenshire wanted to preserve their uneconomic market. So option D is correct because paragraph 2 refers to popular protests at its closure. Option A is incorrect because Mary Park Center must be approximately 10 miles at least from the border. Option B is incorrect because paragraph 3 shows that he was still wealthy as he could raise money by selling land, and the painting was also worth a lot of money. Option C is incorrect because we are not told that the painting was a portrait or that it was of an earlier duke. So because of this, we have option D as a correct option, which is many residents of Edenshire wanted to preserve their uneconomic market. So you can see here we have different passage. You guys can take a look and find your answers by using your keywords from the statements that are given to you. Okay, next we have that it can be concluded from the passage that option A, Lord Edendale's family has owned land in Edenshire since 1750. Option B, Lord Edendale faced heavy debts as a result of his father's death. Option C, Lord Edendale's family owned the market since medieval times. Option D, Lord Edendale had made large investments in the tourist industry. Here we also have same passages. So let's see which option is the correct. Option B is correct because paragraph 3 says that after his father's death, Lord Edendale faced a massive bill for inheritance tax. Option A is incorrect because although he was a landowner, there is no reference to how long the family had been Edenshire. Option C is incorrect because the family had owned the paintings since 1750, but no reference is made to who owned the medieval market. Option D is incorrect because although he was concerned about the tourist industry, there is no reference to his investment in it. That's why we have option B as a correct option, which says Lord Edendale faced heavy debts as a result of his father's death. Next question is that the main reason that Lord Edendale refused to sell land for industrial development was because option A, he did not want to encourage any more manufacturing in Edenshire. Option B, he wanted to maintain his position as the main employer in Aidenshire. Option C, it would mean breaking up the estate he inherited from his father. Option D, it would encourage tourism and so spoil the peace of the countryside. Option C is correct because paragraph 3 refers to the family tradition of preserving the estate, which could not happen if he sold land. Option A is incorrect because although paragraph 2 says there is little manufacturing, his attitude towards it is not referred to. Option B is incorrect because although we know he was the principal employer, we do not know how many people he employed or whether this would be affected by a new development. Option D is incorrect because far from encouraging tourism, industrial development would likely damage it. That's why we have option C is correct, which says it would mean breaking up the estate he inherited from his father. Okay, next we have the question number 36, which says Lord Edendale believed himself to be only a caretaker or life tenant for his family's estates. Evidence in the passage which might support this claim is that he is option A, the principal employer and landowner in Aidenshire. Option B, prepared to close the market because it is uneconomic. Option C, willing to sell a valuable painting rather than risk industrial pollution. Option D, anxious to pass on an intact inheritance to his descendants. So correct option is D because paragraph 3 speaks of his duty to preserve the family inheritance and confirms this as preserving his successors' birthright, implying that his ownership was temporary rather than absolute. Option A is incorrect because the fact that he is the principal employer is irrelevant in the context of the state. Option B is incorrect because there is nothing to say that he wished to close the market. But if he did this, it will be contrary to the thrust of the question. Option C is incorrect because paragraph 3 does not say he is willing to sell the painting, merely that it is an alternative possibility. Again, it would not support the idea of life tenancy. So we have the option D as a correct option, that anxious to pass on an intact inheritance to his descendants. Which of the following assertions has the least support in the passage? Option A. Hurston was one of the key figures of the Harlem Renaissance. Option B. Hurston was inspired by the literary scene in northern Manhattan. Option C. Hurston wrote several of her most admired novels during the 1920s. Option D. Hurston set out some of her core beliefs in how it feels to be colored me. So now we have a different passage given to find out our answer, to draw our conclusions from these passages. So you can take a look one by one at every passage to find out the keywords and then conclude your answers from there. So option C is correct because the first paragraph, which is about the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s, says that Hurston's best work was still to come after her essay written in 1928. Option A is incorrect because the first paragraph says Hurston, novelist, essayist, and folklorist, was right there in the middle of the Harlem Renaissance. Option B is incorrect because the first paragraph says Hurston's 1928 essay, How It Feels to Be Colored Me, was an eloquently expressed statement of confidence, rooted in place and time. The place and time was Harlem Renaissance in northern Manhattan, and the literary scene there is very likely to have inspired Hurston. Option D is incorrect because Hurston's essay, How It Feels to Be Colored Me, was, according to the first paragraph, a personal manifesto, Hurston's philosophical roadmap. So that's why we have only correct option is C, which is Hurston wrote several of her most admired novels during the 1920s. Next question we have question number 38, which says, based on the passage, the author most likely agrees that option A, Hurston's posthumous popularity is inexplicable. Option B, Hurston was unable to live up to her early promise. Hurston could not have predicted her current prestige. Option D, Hurston's tragedy was that she was ahead of her time. So let's see which option is correct. So here we have option D is correct because the second paragraph says the world was not yet ready for a black working class woman who drove through the American South collecting folk tales in a Chevrolet coupe she called Sassy Susie. She died in 1960 out of print and out of work in a welfare home in Florida. Now, however, her work is admired all over the world. Option A is incorrect because the writer of the passage does not suggest this. On the contrary, the writer expresses admiration for Hurston's work. Option B is incorrect because this is not suggested in the passage. On the contrary, we learn that Hurston's best work came after the Harlem Renaissance and that she had many books published. Option C is incorrect because this is not suggested in the passage. Also, in the first paragraph, Hurston's essay is described as an eloquent statement of confidence. That's why we have option D as a correct option, which says Hurston's tragedy was that she was ahead of her time. Next we have, according to the writer of the passage, which of the following can most confidently be confirmed? Option A, whose Hurston's best friends were. Option B, where Hurston was born. Option C, what Hurston liked to eat. Option D, what Hurston wrote. Option D is correct because the third paragraph says the only thing we know for sure about her is her work and that she existed. Option A, B and C are incorrect because the third paragraph says who she loved and loathed and precisely where and when she was born have been inferred through painstaking scholarship inspired by guesswork. So may not be accurate statements. Likewise, option C is incorrect because such details are unlikely to be able to be reliably corroborated, given the uncertainty about so much of her life. So here we have option D, which says what Hurston wrote, as the correct answer. So here we have next question, which is question number 40. According to the passage, the lack of detailed information about Hurston's life can mainly be attributed to option A, her desire for privacy. Option B, her talent for storytelling. Option C, her unusual circumstances. Option D, her ignorance of literary conventions. So here we have option B is correct because the final paragraph says Hurston is to blame for much of this confusion. Her skills as a narrator were so formidable that she made up the story of her own life as she went along, changing those parts that did not suit at any particular time. Option A is incorrect because this is not mentioned in the passage. Option C is incorrect because although examples are given of circumstances in which the lies he told can be understandable, this is not the main reason why the details of her life are mostly unknown. Option D is incorrect because although the fourth paragraph says her autobiography does tracks on the road, it is fair to say a work of fiction, and she may have been indifferent to literary conventions. There is nothing in the passage to suggest that she was unaware of these. So we have option B as a correct option, which says her talent for storytelling. Next we have question number 41. Which says the passage takes a pessimistic view of Britain possibly becoming a string of islands over the next 200 years for all the reasons given below, except option A, glaciologists originally underestimated the rate of ice melting. Option B, the data from the space shuttle is strong, irrefutable evidence. Option C, we are already experiencing the start of a crisis greenhouse effect. Option D, there is now nothing anyone can do to alleviate the process. So now here we have different passage, so you guys can take a look at this one. And there we have paragraph 2. This one is the third paragraph, and this one is the last, fourth paragraph. So option D is correct because the ideas in options A, B and C are all mentioned in paragraphs 1, 2 and 4 respectively. There is no explicit reference to the idea of too late to do anything about it. So that's why we have option D, that there is now nothing anyone can do to alleviate the process, as the correct option. What hard evidence is given in the passage to suggest that the doomsday scenario mentioned in the third paragraph could actually happen? Option A, the loss of 1,000 cubic miles of polar ice in just 7 years. Option B, the sea encroaching into inland agricultural areas. Option C, the forced displacement of perhaps 987 people. Option D, the center of London being drowned in coastal towns waterlogged. Option A is correct because the evidence given at the start of the passage in paragraph 1 is the only option involving something that has already happened. All the other options are simply projections for the future. So here we have option A, that is the loss of 1,000 cubic miles of polar ice in just 7 years as the correct option. According to the passage, what factor, in addition to the melting of ice, also contributes to rising sea levels? Option A, increasing number of hurricanes. Option B, expansion of seawater as it becomes warmer. Option C, heightened levels of rainfall. Option D, movement of the Gulf Stream. So still we have the same passage with that question also, and option B is correct because in the second paragraph the text states the team believe global sea levels will rise with the temperatures from the melting of ice sheets at present on land and the expansion of seawater as it warms. So here we have option B as the correct option, that is expansion of seawater as it becomes warmer. The writer suggests that residents of island states such as Tuvalu and the Maldives may be affected by the large-scale forced displacement of population because option A, they are determined not to leave their islands. Option B, leaving the islands would ruin most of them financially. Option C, the islands will possibly be completely overwhelmed by the sea. Option D, the island's vulnerability means investment has declined sharply. So option C is correct because the first paragraph tells us that the consequences of a sea level rise of this magnitude are potentially severe, implying a risk of the forced displacement of perhaps 187 million people with this century, with states such as Bangladesh and islands such as Tuvalu and the Maldives being threatened. Nothing is said in the passage about islander preferences or economic matters. So the answer has to focus on the possibility of these small, flat, low-lying islands being overwhelmed by the sea. So here we have option C, which is the islands will possibly completely overwhelmed by the sea as the correct option. So here we have the end of this verbal reasoning sections. We have completed the question bank 1, 2, 3 and 4, each having 44 questions, and now you can see that how much we solved are correct and how much we solved are not correct, which is you can say incorrect. Okay, so let's move towards our next section, next question bank, which is decision making practice test questions. So welcome to the UCAT practice questions of decision making. Use this question bank to familiarize yourself with the types of questions in this subtest. Before using this question bank, we recommend you work through the relevant question tutorial, as it includes in-depth tips and strategies on how to approach and answer each of the different question types within this subtest. Question tutorials are available on the preparation resources section of the website. Each question bank contains a large number of questions split into sections that you may wish to attempt over several practice sessions. The navigator function at the bottom right of the screen allows you to navigate between questions and sections within the bank. Your progress through the question bank is not retained for future visits. It is therefore advisable to make a note of which questions you have attempted. As you progress through each question, you can click Explain Answer at the top left of the screen to check the correct answer and read the answer rationale. An alternative way to check your answers is to use the navigator to skip to the final question. Then click Next to proceed to the review screen. The review screen will show which questions are answered incorrectly. You may click on a question number to return directly to its location in the bank, where you can check the correct answer and rationale by clicking Explain Answer at the top of the screen. Click the Next button when you are ready to begin. So they are asking that if you are ready to begin the exam, so select the Yes button. Otherwise, select the No button to return to the previous screen. So as you guys know, we are ready to begin the exam, so that's why we will press Yes. Decision making practice questions. There are several different question types in this subtest. This question bank contains question bank 1, that is decision making syllogisms. Question bank 1, decision making logical puzzles. Question bank 1, decision making recognizing assumptions. Question bank 1, decision making interpreting information. Question bank 1, decision making Venn diagrams. Question bank 1, decision making probabilistic and statistical reasoning. So we have these 6 types of decision making questions. As you guys know that we have already discussed these types with examples in our last videos, in which I have give you question bank tutorial. So now we will practice more examples with every type. And there is the navigator function at the bottom right of the screen, allows you to navigate between question and sections within the bank. The decision making subtest assesses your ability to apply logic to reach a decision or conclusion. Evaluate arguments and analyze statistical information. Knowledge of specific mathematical or logical reasoning terminology is not required to answer any questions. You are presented with questions that may refer to text, charts, tables, graphs, or diagrams. Additional information may be presented within the question itself. Some questions have 4 answer options, but you are only able to select one response. Other questions require you to respond to 5 statements by placing a yes or no answer next to each statement. An on-screen calculator is available to assist you with this subtest. You can access this by clicking on the button at the top left of the screen. The calculator can be operated by using the mouse or the number pad on the keyboard. The calculator opens in a separate window to the test screen. If you click off the calculator window back to the test screen or use a keyboard shortcut, for example Alt plus F, to flag for review, the calculator will not function until you click back on it. So there were some troubleshooting tips also. Ensure that numlock is on for the number pad to work. Most calculator issues can be resolved by clicking on a C button or closing the calculator and relaunching. If you are setting your test at a test center, you will be given a laminated notebook A4 in size and a pen for making notes. Please click the next button to proceed. So here we're going to start with our first type, which is syllogisms. Some instructions we will use for syllogism question type. For these questions, you are required to evaluate whether a series of conclusions arrive from a given set of premises. These questions have multiple correct response options. You need to drag and drop the correct responses. Click the next button to proceed. So here we have 32 questions for this type, which is syllogisms, and we are at the question number 1 out of 32, which is: in a mixed gender school, all students must study at least 2 foreign languages out of French, German, or Spanish. No boy studies all 3 foreign languages. Place yes if the conclusion does follow. Place no if the conclusion does not follow. So here we have a conclusion that no girl studies only French. Second, all of the boys studies 2 foreign languages. Third one, more girls than boys study foreign languages. More girls than boys study 3 foreign languages. And the last one we have that at least one boy and at least one girl study the same pair of foreign languages. So let's see which conclusion does follow the statement that is given above and which one does not. So first conclusion, which is no girl studies only French, does follow because all students must study at least 2 foreign languages. So we will drag a yes and drop it in front of this conclusion. Okay. Next we have second conclusion. All of the boys study 2 foreign languages. It does follow because the school is mixed gender and all students must study at least 2 foreign languages. So second one also follows, so we will drag a yes and drop it here. Third conclusion, which is more girls than boys study foreign languages, does not follow because there is no information in the statements to support this. That's why we will drag a no and drop it in front of this box. Fourth conclusion, which says more girls than boys study 3 foreign languages, does not follow because we cannot conclude if there are only any girls studying all 3 foreign languages. So we will place no in front of this conclusion. And the last, fifth conclusion, which says at least one boy and at least one girl study the same pair of foreign languages, does not follow because there is no information in the statements to support this. So that's why again you will drag a no and drop it in front of this box like this. Okay, so let's move towards our next question. Which reads as, so here we have our question number 2, which says in a car park there are 50 vehicles, of which 30 are cars and the rest are vans. Half of the cars are blue and half are red, but none of the red vehicles are vans. So place yes if the conclusion does follow, place no if the conclusion does not follow. Some of the vans are blue, and the next conclusion says only red vehicles are cars. All of the vans are blue or white. There are more blue cars than blue vans. There are more red cars than red vans. So let's see which one does follow and which one does not. So here we have conclusion 1, which says some of the vans are blue, does not follow because we are only told that the vans are not red. So we will place a no, drag a no and place it in front of this conclusion like this. Then we'll move towards our second conclusion, which says the only red vehicles are cars. It does follow because none of the red vehicles are vans, so we can say that red vehicles are cars. So it does follow, so we will drag a yes and drop it in front of this conclusion. Next we have the third conclusion, which says all of the vans are blue or white. It does not follow because we are only told that the vans are not red. So that's why we will place no in front of this conclusion. Now we have a fourth conclusion, which says there are more blue cars than blue vans. it does not follow because we are only told that the Venns are not red. That's why again we will drag a no and drop it here in front of this conclusion. Now we have a last conclusion which says that there are more red cards than red Venns. It does follow because there are 15 red cards and no red Venns. So we will drag a yes and place it in that box. Next question we have, that is question number 3. So let's move towards our next question, which says skinks or hyenas are two different types of lizard. All dwarzi are skinks and all lizards are reptiles. Place yes if the conclusion does follow and place no if the conclusion does not follow. So first conclusion, no lizards are skinks. Second, all dwarzi are reptiles. Third, no dwarzi are hyenas. Some reptiles are skinks. And the last one we have that all skinks are dwarzi. So first conclusion that says no lizards are skink does not follow because skinks and hyenas are two different types of lizards. Therefore, some lizards are skinks. That's why it's a no. So we will drag a no and drop it in front of the first conclusion. If you cannot drop it directly, then you can drop it at the one box, then move it to the next one. Okay, now we have the second conclusion, which is all dwarzi are reptiles. Does follow because dwarzi are skinks, skinks are lizards, and lizards are reptiles. So we can say that it's a yes, so we will place yes in front of this conclusion. Third one, which says no dwarzi are hyenas. It does follow because dwarzi are skinks, hyenas are different types of lizards. So we can say it does follow, that's why we will drag a yes and drop it in front of this conclusion. Then we have a fourth conclusion which says some reptiles are skinks. It does follow because skinks are lizards and lizards are reptiles. So we can place yes again in front of this conclusion. Okay, sorry, we will place it here and move this one to here and this one here. Okay, now we have the last conclusion which says all skinks are dwarzi. It does not follow because although all dwarzi are skinks, the converse is not necessarily true. So that's why it does not follow, and we will place no in front of this conclusion like this. Now we have our next question, that is question number 4, which says all students from high school received a grade A in science, and no student in high school received a grade B in history. Senior school admits students only if the student has a grade A in history. So place yes if the conclusion does follow. Place no if the conclusion does not follow. First conclusion, Carol studied at high school before moving to senior school, so she must have received grade A in both science and history. Second conclusion, senior school does not offer a science course. Third, as Monica attended high school, she did not obtain a grade B. No high school student can be admitted to senior school. And the last conclusion, that Sam received a grade B in history, so he did not attend high school. So the first conclusion, which is Carol studied at high school before moving to senior school, so she must have received grade A in both science and history, does follow. Because senior school admits students only if they have a grade A in history. And all students from high school received a grade A in science. So that's a yes. So that will place yes in front of this conclusion. Second conclusion, that senior school does not offer a science course. It does not follow because there is no reference to science courses at senior school. So we will drag a no and drop it in front of this conclusion. Next we have third conclusion, which is as Monica attended high school, she did not obtain a grade B, which does not follow because we are only told that no student received a grade B in history, but nothing about the other subjects. So we will drag a no and drop it in front of this box like this. Now we have a fourth conclusion, which says no high school student can be admitted to senior school. It does not follow because senior school admits students who received an A in history. It does not follow because senior school admits students who received an A in history. So that's why we will drag a no and drop it in front of this fourth conclusion. Now we have a last fifth conclusion, which is Sam received a grade B in history, so he did not attend high school. So this conclusion does follow because no high school student got a B in history. That's why we have that fifth conclusion follows the statement that is given in the question form. So that's why we will drag a yes and drop it in front of this conclusion. So we will drag it here and drop it in front of this fifth conclusion. Like this we will solve all our questions, drag and drop. So I think this is enough for today. I hope you guys understand the concept of decision making questions. We have started only the syllogism part. We will continue it in the next video. If you have any confusion, you can tell me in the comment section. I'll surely reply you. So I'll be back with another video. Till then, just take care and goodbye.